Welcome to episode 58 of Book Nerd Paradise, where we get to know an author as they tell us one of their favorite quotes, read from their work, pose a trivia question, and give away a book or two. Hi, I'm LRW Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Epic Fantasy Adventure Series. And as I've made mention in the past, if this is the brand new, rewritten book one in the Andy Smithson series, the ebook is available for free download on Amazon, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. So please do avail yourself of a copy, because it's, I have to say, I am much more satisfied with how book one turned out the second time I've written it than the first time. Well, but I have, 4 years worth of experience behind me now, and so I think that definitely shows in the final product. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. All right, well, today we have the distinct pleasure of getting to know YA fantasy author K.K. Allen. K.K. is a contemporary fantasy / romance author of stories inspired by nature, magic, and love. She loves manatees, learned to swim for the mere purpose of pretending she was a mermaid, and adores the beach so much she promises to one day live on one in Hawaii and serve snow cones on the side of the road. Boy, that sounds like a fun job, huh? I guess it wouldn't be a job. Maybe that's why it sounds like fun. Anyway, please join me in welcoming K.K. Allen.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Great to see you. KK, you'll be reading from your YA fantasy novel, The Summer Solstice, Enchanted, which is book one in your Summer Solstice series. So that we can get a feel for the book, would you give us a brief synopsis?
So The Summer Solstice Enchanted is book one of 3. Right now it's a trilogy based on nature, magic, and love. That's kind of the whole theme of the entire series. And Katrina Summer, who is our protagonist, she's known very little about her family other than her mother, who is very overprotective of her. Her mother actually ends up passing away in the beginning, very tragic events, and she's forced to move to Apollo Beach from North Carolina, where she's living currently. Lives with her grandmother Rose, and she just begins to start learning a lot about her heritage, and at the same time all these crazy things are happening to her. Like she's having these strange dreams and visions, and it all just seems so real, and she just it all seems to be connected with where she's at right now. And so she's also kind of becoming the target of these kind of bullies, or her peers who seem to either it's jealousy because she's new to town, and new girls get picked on sometimes, or it's because of her grandmother, where she starts to hear that Rose is kind of the central leader of the community, and some people don't think so fondly of her because of this. So she's just trying to make sense of all these happenings, and all these crazy things are happening to her, and her grandmother's really driving home about the fact that when she's turning 16, it's going to be this huge deal in her life, which she doesn't understand why. And also she talks about her birthday being on the summer solstice. And that's kind of where the story really starts to learn what it really means, what her heritage really means, and why it's such a big deal for her to be here, and what her mother was actually keeping from her entire life. So yeah, it's just it really starts unfolding, especially after the birthday, and you learn who Katrina Summer is, and what she's part of, and it just becomes this huge world of mythological enchantment and fantasy, and it's fun. And the first book is more of an intro to the series, so I do want to warn people of that. But there are 2 other subsequent novels where it's really a little bit higher fantasy, so it's fun. Yeah.
You've selected a favorite quote. If you would, tell us what it is, and then tell us why it's a favorite.
So I chose, "Let your dreams be bigger than your fears, and your actions be louder than your words." I thought of this just because when I initially started thinking about publishing my first novel, The Summer Solstice Enchanted, it really came down to fear as being the reason why I'd had this book written for 6 years, and I just wasn't doing anything with it. And it took a really close friend of mine to say, this book is good, you need to do something with it and just let go of the fear. And it was so true. And I don't know why 6 years later I actually said, yeah, you're right, let's just do this. And it helped having, the self-publishing world and having the flexibility to do that. So I just did it, and I haven't looked back, and I don't regret a thing, and it's been great. And who knew 2 years later I'd have 3 books out and another one on the way. So it's been a blessing, and so I love that quote.
We're also giving away a book. If you would tell our listeners what you're giving away.
I'll give away a paperback of my first novel, The Summer Solstice, Enchanted. So whoever wins can kind of get a taste of what the series is all about. So
cool. Awesome. Okay, so what KK didn't tell you is so she's going to give paperback away no matter where you live. Okay, so this is both international as well as domestic. So all you need to do to enter to win is in the little comment section below, leave a comment about the episode, and then make sure that you leave either a Twitter handle, Facebook, or an email address so that we can get a hold of you if you are the lucky winner. You'll be reading from your YA fantasy novel. As I said, it's The Summer Solstice, Enchanted, which is book 1 in the Summer Solstice series. Would you briefly set up the portion you'll be reading from and then share with us?
I'm just going to start at the beginning. It kind of starts a little dramatic because, as I said, there are some visions and dreams that kind of play into this. And it really starts off with what's kind of going on in her head. And then you kind of transition into this new world that she's a part of. So I'll just start at the beginning. Chapter 1. As the surrounding air swirls and the ocean waves grow, I stand still. Allowing my feet to sink beneath the sand, I watch in solitude as the water rages and towers over me, threatening me with its roar. There are voices. No. Screams on the other side of the beach. I take a moment to turn my head in that direction, but all I see are orange, billowing flames and a screen of black smoke that is suddenly choking me. My hands rush to my throat. I can't breathe. I'm falling into the sand, bound to this spot, sand holding my entire body prisoner as I attempt to make out the scene before me. The smoke is too thick, blinding my senses, except my hearing. I can hear every single terrifying sound as their screams grow louder and the last of my senses dissolve. Then I collapse. I gasp and throw myself back against the white Escalade's leather seat. My eyes fly open and I suck in a deep breath of air as my dream's end revives me. When my breathing finally returns to normal, I'm still unable to shake the reality of my dream. A warm hand rubs my bare arm. A dream? The voice behind me is calm and understanding. I turn to look at the short-haired blonde woman who's speaking, and I shake my head, still groggy from my short nap. That was not a dream. I don't know what that was. Charlotte places her hand on the steering wheel and faces forward into the looming darkness. You've been through a lot, Katrina. I expect you'll have many more unpleasant dreams. With another shake of my head, I turn to look out the window. I hope not. If Charlotte has any idea what just went through my mind, she would know how disturbed I've become since committing to this move to Apollo Beach. Horrible nightmares that I can expect nightly. Wind, sand, water, and fire. Smoke. Squinting, I struggle to make out smokestacks in the near distance as Charlotte drives along the coast. We're almost there. Home. I shudder. The distance from Tampa Airport to Apollo Beach is just over 40 minutes, but it's as if we're moving through quicksand. For almost 16 years now, I have lived with my mother, Grace, in Spring Lake, North Carolina, until 3 short months ago when she left for the store and never returned. I'll never forget the hollow, rhythmic pounding on the door. Assuming it was my mother who'd forgotten her keys again, I sauntered across the 2-bedroom box of an apartment we shared to answer it. 2 sheriffs and a woman from the Department of Child Protective Services stood in the doorway to deliver the news. I insisted they had it wrong, that my mother was just around the corner, and then they described her bicycle, a blue vintage with a brown seat and large woven basket. That was when my entire world went black. I'll stop there.
Okay, yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Our guest author last episode, YA fantasy author Sean McGuire, posed a trivia question.
So my trivia question was, what are the titles of the original Star Wars movies? And the answer is, Episode 4 was A New Hope, Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, and Episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
Okay, so KK, you have a trivia question for us. What is it?
Since I did mention that my book, people have said that it reminds them of Percy Jackson, but in a female perspective. It's a Percy Jackson trivia question. What is Percy's fatal flaw?
Ooh, that's an awesome question. Okay, so I guess we're going to find out who really knows the Percy Jackson fandom. This is great. Okay, so make sure that if you don't know the answer, that you subscribe to this Book Nerd Paradise YouTube channel, because what will happen is next episode, is when KK will reveal the answer. And certainly you don't want to miss that. So make sure you subscribe. Are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Just thank you everyone for watching this. And if you haven't checked out my series already, definitely give it a try on Amazon. If you're part of Kindle Unlimited, it is free to check out the first 2 books. So I'd love for you to give them a shot. And then also definitely sign up for my newsletter. People who sign up for my newsletter are the first ones to receive giveaway information, promotions, anything. So just definitely make sure you're part of that. Also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you're part of, make sure you're following me, and I'll definitely let you know when I have something new coming out. I do have a new book coming out late spring, early summer. It's a new adult contemporary romance called Up in the Treehouse, and I'm really excited for this one. It's a little bit different from the Summer Solstice series, but I'm very, very, very excited about it. So thank you again for having me.
Cool. Well, thank you for those words. That's great. So KK mentioned a URL. So that is in the comments section right below, the notes, the show notes right below. So if you're interested in signing up for her mailing list so that you do get notifications of anything new that she's into, it's right down there. So all you got to do is click on that link. All right. Well, I hope you all have enjoyed getting to know KK Allen just a little bit. I'm LRW Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Epic Fantasy Adventure Series.
Click the button to subscribe to the Book Nerd Paradise YouTube channel so you don't miss upcoming authors, giveaways, and answers to trivia questions.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to seeing you again next Monday.